Hello and welcome back. For today's session, we are going to be running through creating portals to collaborate externally, whether that be with customers, with a supplier, or potential vendor. So we can see here we are on our home page. To begin, I'm going to go into a workspace. So portals are created at the workspace level or at the project level. If you've not created your workspace yet, you're going to want to go back to one of our earlier sessions of this series to create your workspace. Now, once we're in our workspace, there's a couple areas that we can go ahead and create our portal from. As we saw earlier, we have recent portals where we can create our first portal. We can also do it from this button. And as well, we can open up our navigation on the left-hand side. That's going to show us the portals as well, and we can create a portal here. Portals exist like a room inside your house. So while at the drive level, this is all internal collaboration, a portal can be created as a room inside your house where you get to choose who comes into that room, as well as what goes into that room. So you can choose to share a file across multiple different rooms with multiple different suppliers, or you can choose to share different files across different portals. Now we're going to go ahead and create our first portal here. As we saw with our workspace creation, we want this portal name to be descriptive. We want to understand exactly who is in this portal. So for this specific project, I am going to name this ventilator ABC April supplier A. This can help me differentiate between other suppliers that I've worked with previously on this project or future suppliers. We can also add guests. So guests are what you're going to add to have your supplier get access here. Guests have free access to CoLab in portals, but they are a limited seat, so they can only do specific things. What I typically recommend is, especially for the first time creating a portal, we can add the guests afterwards. I would recommend creating your portal, setting everything up, adding your files to the portal, and then going ahead and adding the guests. So that's the workflow that we're going to follow today. We can also add a portal admin. So a portal admin could be somebody who's going to help us manage discussion with our guests. It could also be someone who's going to help us upload files, etc. And finally, we can choose to copy a folder structure. So if you guys have a standardized folder structure, you should see that here. If you don't, you can always choose the folder structure of the workspace that you've created. Finally, the last two. Enable downloading for guests in this portal is disabled because it's disabled at the workspace level. So if you recall, when we first created our workspace, we chose not to allow our internal team to download files. So this means that we also are not allowing our external team to download files in portal. If we do want guests to be able to download files from their portal, we're going to need to turn this on at the workspace level. Finally, deleting feedback in the workspace. This basically means that if as supplier or portal guest deletes a piece of feedback in their portal, it deletes it from your workspace. Because everything files up to the workspace level, you want a really clean source of truth. So you may want to keep this on. From here, we're going to go ahead and create our portal. All right, so we've landed in our portal. We can see that we don't have any guests that have been added to our portal yet. And we can tell we're in a portal because we have this purple band on the left-hand side. If you recall, if we go back home and into our workspace, this band is black. If I open up portals and jump into my portal, this band is now purple. So this alerts me to know that I am in a portal. Now, the very first thing I'm going to want to do in a portal is upload my files. Now, you could be in a situation where you are not uploading any files and your supplier is going to be uploading files. In that case, you likely just want to add them as a guest right away. When they log in, when they get added as a guest, they're going to log in for the first time, set up their password, and then they'll be able to upload files themselves. But if you are in the alternative scenario where you have files that you want to share with your guests and maybe you're going back and forth, we can go ahead and upload our files here. We can also pull files over that already live in Drive. So our files that we've uploaded to Drive that we've reviewed in this series are our ventilator and our 2 PDFs. So all I did to get here was I just clicked that plus button and chose add a file. This shows me the ability to upload files, so brand new files, which again will be uploaded both at the Drive level and the portal level. And it shows me the ones that are in my workspace already. So I'm going to go ahead and select 2 of these and choose add. I can see those are already immediately pulled over. And I can see that my ventilator, it chose to pull through just version 2. In a moment, we'll go back and I'll show you how to also pull through version 1. Now, once these files are uploaded, our next step would be to add our guests. So we can see nobody's been added yet. This is where we would type our supplier email and we would go ahead and save changes. And this is going to send an invite to the supplier that they can come on in here and collaborate. Now, if we want to push files from Drive, we can go back to our workspace. And again, we saw that color change from purple to black. And we're going to see now that we have a green arrow beside the 2 files that we've already shared to a portal. So we can see we've got those here, but our bill of materials has not been shared yet. So if we want to choose to share from Drive, we can do that by clicking that More Options button and choosing Share to Portal. In this case, we're going to be able to choose multiple portals to share to. So if you have a RFP that's going out to several different suppliers that you're looking to get feedback from, you would be able to set them all up in portals and then choose to share one file across multiple vendors here. In this case, I just have my one portal set up, so I'm going to go ahead and select it. I can then choose which revision to share. So this is why when we put our ventilator in, only V2 was pushed through because automatically it's only going to share the latest revision. But when we manually push from Drive, we can go ahead and choose to share all revisions or selected revisions only. We can also choose feedback. So if you have already done an internal design review, you may have chosen to have a tag on feedback that has something like need supplier input. In this case, you would be able to leverage feedback filters to only populate that feedback. This is going to only push through feedback with that tag on it. In this case, we don't have any feedback with that tag, so that number is 0. But if we did, it would tell us how many pieces of feedback are going to push through. Again, because our guest has not been added yet, this is always a good thing to do in advance. Double check that it's showing up the way that you would like it to, and then go ahead and add your guest. From here, we're basically going to get a summary screen that tells us what portal we're sharing it to, what file it is, what revision it is, and which feedback is going through. And I'm going to go ahead and click share. I get my success toast. I've got my arrow on all 3 files now. Now, if we wanted to share V1 of our ventilator as well, we can go ahead and open up the revisions, and we can see that only V2 has been shared. V1 does not have our green arrow. So we could go ahead and share V1 to portal just as we did with our bill of materials. Now, if we want to double check that everything's come in properly, we can click over to portals and we can see our 3 files are in here. Now, what we might want to do is kick off a review, just as we did internally with our supplier. So in this case, you would go through that exact same flow that we went through when we kicked off our first review, give it a title, an end date, a beginning date, and instead of adding your internal team as your reviewers, we would just add our guests as our reviewers. And so they would be alerted that they are invited to participate in a review. And just as you would participate in a review, they would drop pins and participate in a review. That's the basics of creating your first portal, uploading those files, and creating a review for that supplier. We'll talk again soon.